kwakanaka. Ndisati ndasimudza muparidzi wedu wanhasi ndakumbirwawo kuti tizoverenga mascriptures ari kubva kuna Genesis 21 from verse 8 to 21. Then Ephesians 6 verse 4. Genesis 21 verse 8 to 21. Then the second one is from Ephesians 6 verse 4. Kana mapawana ndichatanga kuverenga. Genesis 21 ine musoro weshoko wokuti the birth of Isaac. The birth of Isaac. Actually, the whole chapter is talking about the birth of Isaac. Asi musoro wangu wandichafamba nawo kubva pa8 ndewekuti iwo Hagar and Ishmael are sent away. Ndichatanga kuverenga pa8. When Isaac grew up and was about to be weaned, Abraham prepared a huge feast to celebrate the occasion. But Sarah saw Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and her Egyptian servant Hagar, making fun out of her son Isaac. So she turned to Abraham and demanded, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son. He is not going to share the inheritance with my son Isaac. I won't have it." This upset Abraham very much because Ishmael was his son. But God told Abraham, "Do not be upset over the boy and your servant. Do whatever Sarah tells you, for Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted. But I will also make a nation of the descendants of Hagar's son, because he is your son too." So Abraham got up early the next morning, prepared food and a container of water, and strapped them on Hagar's shoulders. He then sent her away with their son, and he wandered aimlessly in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water was gone, she put the boy in the shade of a bush. Then she went and sat down by herself about 100 yards away. "I do not want to watch the boy die," she said, and she burst into tears. But God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven, "Hagar, what's wrong? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy's crying as he lies there. Go to him and comfort him, for I will make a great nation from his descendants." Then God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well full of water. She quickly filled a water container and gave the boy a drink. And God was with the boy as he grew up in the wilderness. He became a skillful archer, and he settled in the wilderness of Paran. His mother arranged for him to marry a woman from the land of Egypt. Ndichaenda ku Bible rangu reshona kuti tese tinyatsokunzwisisa. The same chapter, Genesis Magambo 21 verse 8 to 21. Like I said before, the whole chapter is talking about the birth of Isaac, kubarwa kwa Isaac. Ndichatanga pa8 pane musoro wenyaya wokuti Hagari naIshmaeri vanodzingwa. Mwana akazokura akarumurwa. Abrahamu akaita mabiko makuru kwazvo pamusi wakarumurwa Isaac. Zvakaitika kuti Sara akaona Ishmael mwanakomana waHaga muIjipita. Mwana akaberekera Abrahamu achiita je naIsaac. Akataurira Abrahamu kuti dzinga muranda uyu nemwanakomana wake, nekuti mwana womuranda uyu afanire kudya nhaka pamwe chete nemwanakomana wangu Isaac. Abrahamu akashungurudzwa kwazvo mumwoyo nenyaya iyoyi yemwanakomana wake. Asi Mwari akataurira Abrahamu achiti, rega kushungurudzwa zvako mumwoyo nezvomwanakomana uyu kana nezvomuranda uyu. Ita zvako zvese zvaunenge waudzwa naSara, nokuti zvizvarwa zvako zvichadaidzwa nezita raIsaac. Ndichaitawo kuti mwana womuranda wako abereke vana vakawanda, zvokutova rudzi rwavanhu, nokuti mwana wako. Naizvozvo Abrahamu akafumamuka akatora chingwa neguchu redende rizere mvura, akapa Hagari, akamuberekesa mwana kumusana, akati aende zvake. Hagari akasumuka akaenda akandodzungaira ari murenje reBhereshebha. Kuzoti mvura iye yomuguchu yapera, Hagari akaisa mwana mune chimwe chigwenzi. Hagari akaenda chinhambwe chingasvike dombo rokukanda nemaoko, akagara pasi achichema ari pakanga pakatarisana nepaya paiwa nomwana, nokuti aiti, handingadi zvangu kuona mwana achifa ndakatarisa. Mwari akanzwa kuchema kwomwanakomana uyu, mutumwa waMwari ari mudenga. Akadaidzira kuna Hagari achiti kwaari, ko chanetsa chiko Hagari? Usatye zvako, nokuti Mwari anzwa kuchema kwemwana paari ipapo. Simuka utore mwana unyatsomubata noruoko, nokuti ndichaita kuti ave nevana vakawanda zvokutova rudzi rukuru. Mwari akapengenutsa maziso aHagari akaona tsime remvura. Akaenda akazadza guchu riya nemvura akapa mwana. Mwari aiwana Ishmaeri akakura achigara murenje, akazowa nyanzvi yokupfuura nouta nemiseve. Ndichaenda kuna Ephesians vaEfeso 6, I think it's verse 4. VaEfeso 6 paverse 4 inoti iyo ine musoro wekuti vana nevabereki. Ndichatangi vaEfeso 6 verse 4. Okay. Iri kutaura iyo kuti imi vabereki musashatirise vana venyu, asi vayarutsei mukuzvibata nechidzidziso chaMwari. Rechirungu robva rati izvoni, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. Mazwi aMwari kuvanhu vaMwari. Ndichasumudza muparidzi wedu watinoziva mazuva ese, asi muzuva ranhasi mudziyo uri kushandiswa naJehovha. Chavasumudza nehymn 100. Tinyatsoita zvokuimba chaizvo kuti preacher wedu akoke simba nemazwi aatumwa nawo. muri kuda tune ipi paridzi? Upenyu hwangu unovhara ndine mweya mutsvene, madambudziko azopera. Ndine mweya mutsvene, mweya ndeyerupeneso, yemarambo
pamusoro yemagosi angu, pamusoro yesangano dzvene raMwari. Ndambokumbira kuti ndiendako zvino, ndarambidzwa nevakuru, ndarambidzwa nevakuru, ndafunga kuti panondiitira zviri nani, ndamira ipapo. But anyway, Mwari vari mubatsiri. Toda kutenda naiwo mukana wandakapiwa kuti ndimire pamberi penyu, kwete kuti ndinogona kana kuti nekuti position yangu yandiri yacho as a lone parent, because I think all of you know very well that I'm a lone parent, handina mazwi kuti ndingataure kuti mungati ndinogona chaizvo chaizvo kana kuti ndakagona being a lone parent. But ndichakumbira Mwari kuti vazondibatsira kutaura mazwi awandipa kuti ndikwanise kunge ndichitaura nemi. Most of it, it's going to be my experience as a lone parent. saka munhu azondiregererowo ndikange ndichizotaura zvimwe zvingange zvichizobata imi sechurch. It's only an experience yandaka-experience, or some of it ndakataura my co-lone parents vachindiudzawo their experiences, so that at least zvanga zvisingori zvangu chete, but just to have a general consensus of how people have or are experiencing as lone parents. Ndofunga vanhu mungangoziva background yangu. Ndine mwana 1 musikana anonzi Dzidzashe. Ndakaitawo sesere kuti Mwari vakandigonera, akakurawo zvakanaka, akachata musi wa6 May. Kusi kugona kwangu, asi kuti nyasha dzaMwari. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Mukadai mataura nditaurira, sorry. So ndinoda kungoti ndomwari naiwe mukana wandapiwa. Munhu azondiregererawo. This is my first time kumira pamberi pevanhu ndichitaura, saka it's not something that I'm used to. Asi ndinokunamata kuti Mwari achandibatsira. Saka ndichida kutaura pamusoro being a lone parent. Ichange isiri maridzo chaiyo. Like I said, it's going to be part of my experience, and part of it ndichizotaura the experience here another person to go through the same thing in the Bible, which was mavhesi amanzi vaaverengwa kuna Genesis 21 kubva paverse 8. Ndichitaura maybe nyaya, ndichida kuti nditaure a little bit of the background yekuti nyaya yakazosvika pakudai sei. Sarah naAbraham vakanga vasina mwana, vakatambudza kuitika mwana for quite a long time, kusvika sekuverenga kwandakaita Sarah asvika pakuzoti kuna Abraham murume wake wadii kutora Hagar, waita mwana naye kuitira kuti at least dzinza rizokura, rizoramba richienderera mberi. Ndokuuya kwakaita Ishmael. So Mwari vakazosvika pakuti vakakomborerawo Abraham naSarah vachizozvarawo mwana wavo ainzi Isaac. Saka pane pakawanika mheno pachiverengwa kunzi Isaac vachitamba vari vairi nemwana waHagar, Ishmael. Vakanga vakutamba vese, then I think Sarah became jealous. Akati, zvino zvawaita vakomana vese vari vairi, zvichazofamba sei? Mwana wangu achazoda kuzopatsanurirwa ukama upfumi pakati pavo vari vairi. Saka what do I do kuti mwana waye abve pana? Akataura murume wake akati Hagar nemwana wake vanofanira kubva panapa vachienda kuti vachaenda kupi, but they have to go from this place. So ndo kuzobva kwakaita Hagar naIshmael vachienda kunogara in the desert. Saka ndichida kutaurawo inini ndichipa a background, kana kuti nditi the meaning of being a lone parent. Who is a lone parent? There are different ways, there are different circumstances that lone parents become lone parents or lone fathers, because it's not just a mother. Vanhu vakwana tunga tinozviona sema-mothers, because I know pataienda my-lone parents, there were not many, there were not even a man or men that were attending those programs, which it kind of made people feel good, maybe it's just for women only, but it was for both men and women. But I don't know, obviously for men, to feel comfortable to be part of those groups. But there are circumstances dzinosvika pakuzoti munhu azosvika pakunzi lone parent. Some of them are because you become divorced. Nekuti pamwe zvazviri kuitika zvacho in that marriage was not going well for the other partner. then the other partner ends up maybe saying, ndakubuda, kana kuti wadzingwa because of my situations. Be it mukadzi kana murume, it doesn't matter kuti ndiani anenge achizobuda in that marriage. Kana kuti a partner dies. Kana kuti you never got married, but you happen to have a child. Nema situations akasiyana. The other one would be unogona kunge wakarepwa. Kana kuti wakangoita mwana and then the partner refuses that responsibility. So you end up becoming a single parent. Saka ndandizone question one and ndachizofunga as I was doing this this discussion kind of. Ndachida kubvunza kunemiwa just in general kuti in the event yekuti mama karoorana mukadzi nemurume but mukadzi wodzingwa because murume akuda mumwe mukadzi, but baba wati still I'm going to still support my family despite you not staying with me. Would you consider that as a lone parent?
Yes and no. Yes, Babuti. Are you still married to that woman?
Either both.
That the word and Chadanesa would mean to say what was certificate guy would you are alone? You're a lone parent. And Chadanesa.
Baba.
I would say a lone parent in the sense that once you're not married to the person and that child comes and that person is not in that child's life, right? That makes you a lone parent. That's number one. Number two, if the person refuses to take responsibility for that child, despite staying with you, you're still a lone parent. Because at the end of the day, you end up doing the whole stuff for the child. You understand what I'm saying to you? Okay, now, why is it there with you and it's not looking after the child? Why are you together? You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
The concept of man and woman from God is not to be together just like that, but to be married. That's what God planned for us. To be man and wife. So if the man cannot take his responsibility, then the woman is still a lone parent.
Thank you.
Yes, I think you're still a lone parent because chinochengeta mwana haisi financial support. Ngati munhu yati I'm still going to be there for the family achipa financial support. Chinochengeta mwana nemhuri uwepo wako iwe as a parent. Saka kana uri usipo whoever asara nevana is a lone parent.
It's complicated. In a way, yokuthi I think kutiti lone parent, you have to break it completely. If you leave it hanging, murume akafaya ukanzi kwani inheritance unodaidzwa kuti uchicha participate. So I think it is up to us isusu wacho tasara kuti if I decide kuti kune mudzimai wangu I move away ndakutora umwe and so on, we need to completely break it. Paina wana break it. Tumeita agreement yawana iri separate with that. Asi ngoti mombonzi gara uko. Asi kan kaya karungori hanging. Cannot say. That's why I'm sure wana win Mandela zvanga zvakuzonetsa futi. Mandela afa. So those are things I think we need to completely break it. Let's not leave it hanging. Kana zvikuita ramangosiyana completely cut it off. Kumukasiya pari hanging. Pamberi apa it becomes complicated again. Because amugoni kuti is a lone parent just because amuzigara mese. But pakatika anything zvinema legality inside, we are still considered as mudzimai wake. Tingatesinoza kugana kumusha vanhu vaita akafa kanzi nonzi mukadzi mukuru ngauya kunyangwa ngasi musha imomo. Kuti anga asina kuramba zvakati zvakakwana. So zvikanyatso kuti break zvisinani kubreak hapanoti let's leave it hanging kuti no ngazvipo.
Inini kufunga kuti unenge wasingle but pane pamwe paya panozochanzi ya co-parenting chikushiya ma-responsibilities. Munguva pamwe mwana atori kuna baba vake for some days, pamwe ari kukoko, but you are single because hamusisiri mese. But maybe my responsibilities you're sharing is equal as being there financially, that whole support. Saka vamwe vakuzoya neteme yekuti co-parenting.
Ini ndikuona kunge iri very complicated nepamusana pekuti dzimwe dzenguva munenge muchitogara nesi hapana communication mai kuti maikumbura chimboenda ipasaidi, hapana that communication between the two of us, but action dziri mumba imomo dziri kutoratidza kuti vanhu ava they are living independent lives, separate lives. Saka pakadaro ipapo apa zviri very complicated nekuti vanenge vachiona vanenge vachiti vanhu vari kudii vari kufambidzana but mukati memba imomomo hamuna kuwirana, hamuna kufambidzana. Saka kuti ndichiziva kuti uchiri lone parent here kana wakuti but
I think zvandinokufungidzira kana inini tichita lone parent lone parent yetikutaura isusu haisindi yeti kuti singabva kunyumba. Lone parent ndeyekutoti iwewe you are doing things on your own. Either lone parent wako uri kukonzerwa nedeath yavataura haasisipo. I think those some of the lone parents atinoona mukati mechechi medu wakafirwa nespouse wakati wakatorambwa spouse yakatora mugoni yakaroora munhu hapasina angava achibvisa hake maintenance achiita sei, but that does institute kuti akutonzi munaemesi iyo imaresponsibility ake, but you are lone parent. Zvinhu zvinoda pamba kuti mukadzi unoda kuchimbwa hapo yatimba pacha nyoka ida kurowa hapo, so uri lone parent.
Thank you very much.
Ini ndinonyatsotenda kuti kana wakunzi a lone parent one hakusina zvekuti unozomboti ndaenda ndadzoka hakuna ya one. Kana tichiona varume, isusu varume tinonzi pfunda, kana usina mudzimai uri pfunda, that means you are alone, uri woga. Saka hatimboriga hedu nzvenzvera kumwe kunhu wadikana kana parambwana chaivo lone parent uri one wega iwe zvapera.
Thank you very much for all your contributions. They've been helpful. So I might try to mix English and Shona here.
Yeah.
Nice. Right. So I've just spoken to a number of some few lone parents that have been in that situation, or who are currently in that situation of being a lone parent. What are the experiences or challenges that they have been facing, or they continue to face as lone parents? So some of them have said being judged about their circumstances or their situation that they are in at that point, and people don't know how they ended up in that situation, or that experience that they're experiencing at that point. But people, you hear them behind your back, or maybe you end up hearing other people come back to you. The other one is all eyes are on you, even good church, e.g. when there is you're trying to maybe help someone genuinely, who might be a couple, for whatever reason that you're wanting to help them. But it ends up not being seen as that. It ends up being seen as maybe you have another motive behind that, which will not be that situation. Inenge malicious maybe anyway, and this one is it's a practical example yakaitika. You want to help someone, and then potanga kutaurika nyaya dzekuti I don't think that's the reason why munhu ada kundibatsira ane zvaauda kutsvaga, something like that, and then those children, those people then end up talking about it in their own household. Vana vari kunzwa. Then one of the children goes to tell the child of that lone parent, kuti this is what's going on, and it impacted on that child. Akanzwa nyayo as in the child of the lone parent, kuti this is what's going on, and amvaramba kuya kuchechi, angasachade kuya kuchechi, became withdrawn, affected her kuchikoro chaiko because of the words that had been said that she was told about her and the mother. Obviously, for the parent who had been in that situation, I told what that about her, about that, it affected her again, ended up not going to church because of that. Apana munhu akazombeta follow up to go and find out what was going on, kuenda wareka kuya kuchurch, things like that. So it's one of those things that we as lone parents experience when and it ends up maybe putting people in a position here, you just sit in the back seat there because you're worried about what are the repercussions of me wanting to support or wanting to help when we can do that. The other one is kana kuti mwana because we are lone parents, we might struggle to find when we're going to work, say maybe my night shifts, we end up leaving wana on their own in the house. And obviously as they grow up, they become misikanzwa, become naughty and all that. If you're unfortunate, the child or they're doing anything that you might not be aware of, in the end, and then people will end up looking at you now as the lone parent. And at times there are horrible words that have been used, like manohuri, angaende nekupi, anditi mwana wacho haana kuroorwa saka mwana angaende nekupi. All those comments like that will end up coming because you're trying to support the family or to make ends meet for yourself and the child or all the children, but because of that, other things ends up happening and you don't get the support from either the family, your own family, the wider network, as in friends who might be around you. Instead of them helping you, they are now mocking you and end up maybe the child at a proper go astray. Being conscious of how we dress again at times, of whenever we maybe go for different occasions, it's one of those things again that kind of is a struggle. Obviously, we should not be wearing raise my concerns, but at the same time, you're worried, if I wear this, what are people going to say about me as a person and about me as a lone parent around people who are either married. Don't get me wrong, you involve with both men and women, and it's just about women only. The same with men again, at the same time, the way you behave, maybe you're just trying to talk to someone and then people will think, oh, or something like that, but it won't be that. And having a conversation, a normal conversation, but you are limited because of how people perceive us or perceive a lone parent as in a lone parent. So those are the few things anyway that I've just managed to come up with. I know there is a lot that happens when you're seen as a lone parent. So ndichitarisa going back to the Bible, tichitarisa pana Hagar and the situation there, Hagar and his mom, her child Ishmael. Sarah had allowed this to happen in the first place, and because it suited her at that point. Asna asati aziva kuti achazokomborerwawo naMwari kuti akwanise kuzoitawo her own child. So things turned around when she ended up being blessed with a child, and then akufunga manje kuti alright, zvapane vana two, then my son is going to end up having to maybe not get a full share of the inheritance. And then she ends up changing her mind, seeing the little bad things that were happening. And I don't think if there were even things that were bad that happened for her to end up saying, Kuna Abraham, the husband, you need to take them or to send them away. Anga kumuona as a slave. Yes, akanga aware as a slave. Achishanda pamusha. But because when it suited her, she was a nice person. It's the same as us people. When things suit us, tinoona zvinhu zvichiitira zvakanaka, but kana taona zvinhu tapari right, kana kuti when things are okay with us, we end up changing our minds. Taakukanganwa zvatinenge taitirwa zvakanaka naMwari, we end up going astray. Taakuenda kusiriko. We forget to continue thanking God and seeing the good things that were happening to us when things were not okay. Saka Hagar and Ishmael vakanzi chibva ipano akuonekwa se-slave, Egyptian slave, and her child. Ngavabve pano vaende somewhere handidi kuvaona pano. Murume akarwadziwa nazvo Abraham, but he could not do nothing about it. Akazotaurwa akanzwa izwi richitaura from God kuti just leave them. Don't comment about what Sarah is suggesting. Siya vaende. Achawana makomborero ake kwaari ikoko. Zvakafanana nayo malone parents aya kuti dzimwe nguva madzingirwa anenge waitwa pamba kana kuti munhu akaroorwa. Kana kuri kuti pamwe afirwa chaiwo. I've got people wekuti vakafirwa nevarume, and then they have everything taken off them. Nekuti zvazviri zvemwana wedu. But they are forgetting to pane vana varipo vachada kuita benefit from those things. Pamwe mukadzi haasi kutoshanda, ochena unotanga kuti one paanenge asitonaka anything. This was the same situation naHagar naIshmael. Hapana chavakapiwa chinomboshamisa, despite the fact that Abraham was rich, because he had to listen to what the wife had said kuti ngavabve pano vape zvinhu zvishoma zvekuti vangofamba vangonorarama a little bit. And I don't know whether she was hoping for them to die because vanga vasina chavanga vachazongwa inacho in the end. But Mwari ndo pavanokukomborera ipapo zvakadaro. Mwari vakavasimudza zvakadaro. Yes, nguva iyo zvanga zvakavaomera pavakadzingwa ipapo, hanzi vakapiwa zvingwa zvishoma nemvura. Hambva wasiwa ndobva waenda in the desert. Kusina kana chinhu. Kwanga kusina kana umwe munhu. Asi Mwari vari mudesert imomo vakavasimudza zvakadaro. Yes, pakutanga Hagar akaomerwa. Zviya zvekuti kana tinosvika panguva yekuti ukamboomerwa stereki unoshaya kana mazwi ekutaura. You end up maybe just crying. But pari panguva iyoyo ndo Mwari pavakasvika vakamurangarira through kuchema kwakaita mwana. Hanzi mwana ndiye akateererwa kuchema kwake, because tikaenda pavhesi 16. Then she 17. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. So Mwari vakanzwa kuchema kwemwana Ishmael. Vakapindura minamato yaHagar yekuti ndofunga aizvibvunza kuti but ndakatadzei. Handina kuzvipinza ndega in this situation that I'm ending up in now, asi ndakutambura. Ndipo Mwari pavanouya vachititaurira kuti handikusiyi muri mega. Ndichakutumirai the comforter anokucomfortai. This is the situation yakapinda Hagar naIshmael. Kusvika paakazotonzi go and lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation. Maona kunaka kwamwari zvakunoita. Hanzi unokikwa pane imwe position yaunenge maybe wanga uri comfortable into a difficult position yaunenge uchisingazive kuti pamberi apo ndichazokomborerwa sekukomborerwa kwakazoitwa Ishmael when he ended up having to be in a great nation. I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened her eyes and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. Kunaka kwa Mwari. Mwari vanogadzira nzira pasina nzira. Akanga akutoti ndakutongomutarisa kuti mwana uyu achifo because zvatopera. There's no way I can manage to find anything to feed this child. Hanzi akabva paakanga akagara akaenda kunogara somewhere. Mwana womusiya akagara apa akati handingamutarise nditarisa mwana wangu achifa because I cannot help the child, feeling helpless at that point. But Mwari pawati hanzi patinogumira kufunga kana kuti patinenge taomerwa nezvinhu, that's where he begin to show us how great and how supportive, despite the world laughing at you, will become. Nditarisa kukura kwangu ndakaita inini. I grew up, baba wangu was a headmaster, Mai was a teacher, and we had a good life. We were raised in a life yekutotesta kakwanisa kuenda boarding school, and we didn't struggle. But my mother and father did not raise us kuti some cotton wool zviya zvekunzi because you can manage, we can afford to provide you with everything, then just live like that. They always used to say, learn it the hard way and the easy way, because you never know how you will end up. Dzidza zvakaoma nezvakanaka, tamburai dzidzai kutambura nekunge muchiwana zvese, because hauzivi kuti mangwana achazenge akamira sei for you. And we used to moan about it. Why? Because you can afford it. Why? Wasikana webasa chaiwo zvitonzi musikana wangu webasa hasi wenyumba, ena munotsvaira, ena munogeza maplates, wachai hembe dzenyu mega, not knowing that we were being prepared for today the hard way, which obviously myself I experienced. And after I had my daughter, because of that upbringing that I had in the beginning, I did not struggle. Yes, things were difficult because unenge wa one and you had to juggle this and that and that. But kuZimbabwe kwasheko, I learned how to manage things without being told kana kustruggle. I was at college. I ended up having to ndichiti ndichienda kunotsvaga zvinhu zvekuorder outside the country, nana Zambia, whatever. Ndichiuya ndichitengesa. That would be during the weekend. During the weekend, I begged Papa pachikoro. And she never struggled. Up to today, because I have been that role model to this child, she is that person. Wekuti Mwari vakamutungamirira akamusvitsawo pekuti akwanise kuona the way I've lived myself up to now, for her to be who she is today. And handizvirove dundundu kuti ndini ndakagona. Zvandiri kutaura zvekuti taivasiya uchienda kubasa, and Mwari vakanaka. Taivasiya ndaisaita mashift 1. Ndazoya kuno ndakaenda kuchikoro university. She was only 12, 13 uchimusiya kumba kuseni ukuenda kuchikoro masikati pandodzoka pamwe waita sese kuti maybe it was just half a day ndaisvika ndaenda kubasa manheru acho ndikudzoka ndikuenda kunight ndichibva ikoko ndikubva ndikuenda kuchikoro saka we hardly had time to spend with these children vekuti vanyatsoona kuti tiri kuchengetwa. Those were the difficulties dzimwe dzataifesa as my lone parents kuti ufunge kuti ndinomusiya kunani mwana wacho because maybe of where you live and maybe ausitava kuziva vamwe vanhu and all that stuff. It was difficult, but ndo patinonzi tinotenda Mwari pakuti Mwari vakatigonera vakatirangarira vanotirangarira when you are doing your best to raise that child to have a better life in the end. Ina handidi kunyemba kuti ndakanetseka nemwana wangu. Mwari vakandigonera vakandirangarira in that situation, but kune vamwe yekuti as much as you tried to raise those children and you being so strict, but zvinhu zvaenda nepamba, and then those were situations yekuti unoguma munhu wakujudgwa nevanhu kunzi mazviona zvaenda nepi, but you're doing your best as a parent, but it's not good enough in other people's eyes. So the practical side of things that has helped me, myself anyway, and some of my friends to manage the situation. These ones are mine anyway, because I was brought up in a God-fearing family. Mwari vakandibatsira kuti izvozvo ndirambe ndichiita continue with that. So I put God first in everything that I did. It made me become a risk taker at times because of like some of the things that you would just go and leave the child and you're thinking nenyika ino yekuti my social services if it was known this is what was happening, I would have been in trouble. But Mwari covered us in those situations, not because takangwara, but I'm now in that profession actually those are the situations. It's sad, and we hear our own fellow Zimbabweans at times end up in those situations. And then the other one is learn to be content with what you have, because if you learn to not be content with what you have at that point, you would end up doing things that would not be exemplary to man in the end, because you're wanting more. Living within your means. Usingazo tora too many loans, we've got that opportunity, and I know things are becoming tighter at the moment, but the times that we came in this country, things were so easy. But in the end, you end up struggling. And that will impact on the child again, because you're trying to live a life that you're not able to live. And that would just have a bad reputation. A bad example again on a child. You cannot actually manage to do that, but in the end, most of them are in trouble. Being organized in everything that you do. And it helped me a lot. And I think she's kind of taken that a little bit. Because if I can say, she was quite spoiled anyway, and my sisters. Obviously, during the school times, she would be in boarding school. When she came back home, they would call her Mwana and all that stuff. So she never used to do anything. So when she came over here, I had to start from scratch with it. Things like that. Her being tiny, I think Wakamona, she's quite short and quite petite. She used to say, Mama Kumba never used to ask me to cook. And I said, my dear, things have changed. Tables have turned. You need to start learning. It's all those things that we have to put in our children so that they have to learn the hard way for them to maybe become the people that we expect them to be, and for them to have a better life than what I had myself. So obviously she used to not like it and hate it. all those things, just for me to stop her from doing it, but I never stopped. So at times you have to be cruel in order to be kind. Yeah, so she ended up, she is a good cook at the moment, because I continue to hammer, no. It is what it is, my dear. Tingori tu panap. There's no one else to do this for us. We have to learn and we have to support each other, which in the end we ended up being working as a team. Not feeling sorry for myself, but I'm a lone parent. I had to push myself for me to be who I am today. Being honest and kind with yourself at the same time. It was one of the things that I learned anyway, that if you sleep, you don't get anything. Because I wanted to achieve something. Unfortunately, obviously, I did not have a helper, but that did not stop me to achieve what I hoped or what I would have wanted to achieve. Then always give yourself goals when to achieve the targets. By demonstrating the above, thinking outside the box of what is it that you want in life. Coming out of your comfort zone. Not always feeling sorry for yourself. Actions you take after you make a mistake or when you fall down. What is it that we did? What we did? You've been a lone parent. I mean, you've not had anyone to help you. You cannot stay in that position of feeling sorry for yourself. It's about thinking, what do I do next? Find ways of upgrading yourself, or find ways of making things happen for you to be in that position. They will not struggle or they will not suffer. And I've always used this verse anyway to my daughter, like she knows it by head. Proverbs 29 verse 15. The rod, reproof, give you wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. Or whoever spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him. So it's not about roba mangwana, but it's about making sure that you are consistent in how you manage their behaviors, in being able to comment or make comments, good comments when they do well, so that they know that you are recognizing the good things at the same time, mentioning the bad things that they are doing at that point. So to start back to the Bible, where Hagar and Ishmael were sent away. They ended up being the great people in the end because of the position or the situation that they were put in. So let's not be in our comfort zones all the time. Let us push ourselves to do better. Let us push ourselves to do more and be the role models for our children, which I think most of the lone parents do that, because you definitely know that I'm not expecting anything from anybody. That is how I've seen it myself, and I'm glad Mwari vakandisimudza kusvika patinosvipa pandiri panapa zvinotaura kuti vanosimudza marombe. Hapana chandinokodzerawo kana chandakaita chekuti ndingati